What if the most powerful weapon in history isn't a missile, an army, or a nuclear button but a spreadsheet? No explosions, no invasions, no declarations of war. And yet, entire nations bend, budgets collapse, and governments fall. Here's the mystery. Why do countries with land, people, resources, and productivity still behave like they're permanently broke? Who are they paying? And why does the debt never seem to disappear? Tonight, we pull back the curtain on the invisible debt web, a system so quiet, so normally said that most people never question it. Yet it controls nations without firing a single shot. Debt didn't always rule the world. For most of human history, power came from land, labor, gold, or force. Empires rose by conquest and fell by rebellion, but something changed in the last few centuries. Banks grew faster than armies. Credit replaced conquest, and a new kind of power emerged, one that didn't need flags or borders. This system wasn't built overnight. It evolved through financial innovations, central banks, and global institutions. On paper, it promised stability. In reality, it created dependence. And here's the twist. Almost every nation on Earth is trapped inside it. The story begins in early modern Europe. Governments needed money for wars. Taxes were slow and unpopular, so they borrowed from private lenders. In return, lenders gained influence. Then came a critical innovation: central banking. Instead of borrowing directly from citizens, governments began borrowing from banks that could create money through credit. Debt became permanent. Old loans were paid with new ones. By the 20th century, this model went global. After World War II, institutions like the IMF and World Bank were created to stabilize economies. Their loans came with conditions: currency reforms, austerity measures, privatization. On the surface, it looked like help. Underneath, it was a system of leverage. As global trade expanded, debt became the new battlefield. A country didn't need to be invaded to be controlled. It only needed access to credit. If a nation refused the rules, markets punished it. Currency collapsed. Capital fled. Inflation exploded. Debt forced governments to cut social spending, sell national assets, open markets to foreign control. This wasn't occupation. It was compliance through finance. And unlike war, debt had no end date. Every debt system eventually hits a breaking point. In Latin America during the 1980s, countries borrowed heavily, then couldn't repay. Entire decades of growth were erased. In Asia during the 1997 financial crisis, speculative capital destroyed currencies in weeks. In 2008, the illusion finally broke in the heart of the system itself. Banks collapsed, but governments bailed them out with public debt. The result? Private losses became national burdens. Citizens paid for mistakes they never made. Here's the brutal reality. Nations don't suffer, people do. Debt pressure leads to higher taxes, fewer jobs, reduced health care and education, political instability. Governments rotate. Policies change, but the debt remains. And because most debt is denominated in foreign currencies or controlled by external institutions, true independence becomes impossible. Failed fixes. Why solutions don't work? Countries try everything. It shrinks economies and increases unrest. Printing money. It devalues savings. Defaulting. It triggers isolation and retaliation. Even debt forgiveness often comes with strings attached: new rules, new controls, new dependencies. The web adapts. It always. Those modern parallels, the pattern repeats today. Global debt exceeds $300 trillion, more than 3 times global GDP. Developed nations are drowning quietly. Developing nations are drowning loudly. Different continents. Same pattern. Borrow, grow, slow, borrow, more, lo celebras. And here's the most shocking part. The system requires debt to survive. If everyone paid it off, it would collapse. Final takeaways. What this really means. Takeaway 1. Debt is no longer a tool, it's a structure of control. Takeaway 2. Financial power has replaced military power in shaping nations. Takeaway 3. The cycle continues because most people are taught to see debt as normal, not dangerous. So here's the open question. If war once reshaped borders, and debt now reshapes economies, what happens when the debt web finally snaps? If this changed how you see money, power, and history, if you want to understand the systems behind the headlines, stay curious. And if you think this conversation matters, share it, because the most powerful forces aren't always visible, but they are always working.